Welcome back to Press Review MidEst In-Depth. As Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan wins the elections by a landslide, many are worried about the rights of the centrists in Turkey and freedom of expression, be it through social media or conventional media. Let's learn more. AlMonitor features a piece titled "Why Erdogan Keeps Winning." The writer Mustafa Akgül says the March 30th elections will go down in history as yet another political victory for Erdogan. The writer says even if all the claims of fraud are true, especially in Ankara, it is clear that Erdogan's Justice and Development Party, the AKP, is still very popular after 11 years in power. This might come as a surprise to those observers, especially in the West, who thought that Erdogan would lose support because of all the recent political scandals and controversies in Turkey, such as corruption, authoritarianism, and the shrinking of certain liberties. Why? They might wonder, does Erdogan still triumph despite all these problems? Akgül says to find an answer, one should first look deeper into Turkish society and its political patterns. The first thing to note is that for more than 60 years, throughout which Turkey had regular, free and fair elections, Turkish society has roughly been divided into two unequal parts: the right, which constitutes some 60% to 65% of the votes, and the left, which constitutes the remaining 35 to 40%. The right is defined by respect for tradition, especially Sunni Islam, and a focus on economic development. The left, in return, is defined by secularism and socialist themes of equality. The right traditionally has three components: center-right, Islamist right, and nationalist right. Erdogan's big success is that he combined the first two under the AKP banner and thus created one of the largest voting blocs in Turkish history. For the center-right or Islamist Turkish voter, who makes up roughly half of the society, there is no reason to abandon Erdogan or opt for any of his current rivals. Akgül adds the main opposition, Republican People's Party (CHP), is out of the running for two main reasons. The CHP looks very incompetent when compared to the AKP with regards to the economy and government services. Akgül adds many pro-Erdogan voters got only more attached to him precisely because of the recent scandals, that most of those allegations were based on wiretaps that were systematically exposed on the internet, only proved that there was indeed a conspiracy against the government by the parallel state. The writer concludes the bottom line is that Erdogan keeps winning Turkey's ballots and he is not likely to lose anytime soon. Yet while these persistent victories make the pro-Erdogan camp happy and cheerful, it makes the rest of almost the other half of society desperate, angry and resentful. That is why Turkey will be prone to more polarization, if not instability, should Erdogan not take steps to win the hearts and minds of his opponents and aim for a national reconciliation. Also on Turkey, Liesl Hintz writes for the Washington Post. She explains that Erdogan's delegitimatizing rhetoric appeared during the elections when he deemed opposition forces worse than assassins, referring to medieval groups that would murder their rivals to produce instability. Hintz adds, it is this factor, the absolute unwillingness by Erdogan and his government to attribute legitimacy to any form of opposition, that best explains the electoral manipulation Turkey is experiencing. The writer adds, on a larger scale than the electoral irregularities and their ongoing contestation, it is this larger issue of legitimacy of opposition and the knee-jerk reaction of demonizing anyone that defies or disagrees with the AKP's will that poses the greatest obstacle to democratization in Turkey. The Washington Post piece reminds us that Turkey has struggled and continues to struggle with issues such as minority rights, freedom of expression, free press, gender equality and other fundamental components of democracy since the establishment of the Republic in 1923. Hintz says that some advancements have been made under the AKP rule, such as increased religious expression for Sunni Muslims in the public sphere, but the simultaneous undermining of previously established rights and freedoms suggests that the AKP seeks to institutionalize a regime that tailors rules and institutions to suit its own values rather than be representative of Turkey's entire electorate. Erdogan's government's behavior in the run-up to and the aftermath of the 2014 local elections is indicative of a much broader and deeper problem, which is undermining the opposition. This brings to mind a phrase well known to political scientists that sums up the Turkish case: no opposition, no democracy. And joining us today is Mr. Fadi Hakoura from Chatham House in London. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Mustafa Akul writes for AlMonitor, believing pro-Erdogan voters got only more attached to him precisely because of the recent scandals, that most of those allegations were based on wiretaps that were systematically exposed on the internet, which only proved that there was indeed a conspiracy against the government by the parallel state. Tell us more about who the parallel state leaders would be.
Basically, when Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey refers to a parallel state, he's in particular pointing to a group called Fethullah Gülen, which is a Turkish Islamist group with strong Turkish nationalist aspirations. That at one point was in a political alliance with Prime Minister Erdogan to defeat the former secular establishment that dominated Turkish politics for at least 50 years. When this common agenda was achieved, the military was dethroned from politics. They fell out with each other and entered in a very, very bloody, in a very, very vicious feud between them.
And while the Turkish right, as per Mustafa Akul, forms up to 65% of the voters, the right is known for not challenging its Sunni leadership. Based on this, can we say that Erdogan will be staying in power for much longer? And what would it take for him to lose an election?
Prime Minister Erdogan achieved a good result in local elections that took place on Sunday, 30th of March. The Gülen group that I just referred to have quite a few members, are quite dominant, or were at least dominant in the past, in the police force, in the intelligence services, and the prosecution team, which explains why they were able, it seems, to bug and wiretap some very sensitive conversations that took place between senior members of the Turkish government and their inner circle. What the election results showed, in local elections showed, is that Prime Minister Erdogan was able to consolidate a lot of his support, especially in light of the swirling corruption allegations in Turkey, principally because the poorest sectors of the Turkish society do see Prime Minister Erdogan do perceive his economic program positively, and therefore they ignored the corruption allegations.
Thank you very much again for joining us, Fadi Hakoura, specialist on Turkey in London-based think tank Chatham House. Thank you. And for more updates, please visit us on Levant.tv. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.